The Advocates is sponsored by the Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities.
Do you or someone you know have a brain or a spinal?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to The Advocates. Yes, it is me alone here. Mark Iorio, your host. Lisa Manioki and Al Cini are out doing other things. The Advocates, as you all know, is sponsored by and brought to you by the Kessler Foundation, which is an organization that is helping people with disabilities help them with their lives. And today I've got with me Erik Strid, and Erik is the founding principal at Concentus Wealth Advisors in Newtown Square, helping a lot of people. Erik, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great to have you. So we've talked. We were on Rainmakers Roundup, and we talked a lot about how you help other families, right? And the whole idea here is, when you look. I read your profile. I know who you are, right? You went to Episcopal Academy. You're a heart-centered guy. You're a faithful guy. You got a great family. When you're helping other families, what's that like?
Yeah, it's enormously gratifying and exciting to me. We were talking a little bit before, but I was raised in a way that I always was taught or told that, I've been given a lot of blessings. I was educated in great schools that my parents paid for. Right? I didn't have to work my way through school.
Yeah.
I was athletic. I did well in school. So God blessed me with a lot of gifts, and I was one of those things. My parents always harped with me that to those that much is given, much is expected.
Yep.
So I always had this really important drive within me to use whatever talents I had to make an impact in the world and to do good for others. And part of that was also just an inherent joy in seeing others thrive and flourish. Right? I just have this. I don't know where it came from. I feel blessed to have it, but this sense that I feel happy when the people around me are happy, and that's something that it's one of the reasons I love doing what I do professionally.
Yeah. The Advocates is really all about people helping people, good people doing good for others. And, look, we'll throw this out there because a lot of people who are watching the program, they would look at wealth advisors as an odd fit for a program called, like the Advocates, right? We've had a lot of folks on for that have been in the nonprofit world, that have been counselors, that have been coaches, that have helped people get through really difficult times in their lives. And the way I see you and Concentus and your family and the way you help others is, you said it earlier, and I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but there are doctors who save lives, but you're saving generations.
Yeah. Yeah, so I often tell my team, it's a kind of a mantra that we have. I heard it from an industry consultant in our industry, and I really believe this is true. Financial advisors and financial advice definitely has kind of a black eye in the world, and because there are bad actors. Right? There are people in our industry who have earned us that reputation, and it's also an industry where the kind of it's like you're greedy and you're just there to sell people something or whatever. Yep. But there are also in our industry some of the finest people I've ever met. And by and large, most people in our business are very motivated to help others. But I tell my team all the time, we have, as a society, we think of doctors as the most noble profession, right? They've dedicated their lives to saving other people's lives.
Sure.
And that is absolutely is true, and it's super noble. But the truth is that a doctor's work is such that they may win the battle, but they will always lose the war, right? Because that patient that they saved eventually is going to die. We're all going to die.
Yep.
So, but the work that we do is immortal in a way, right? And that is that we work with a family, we help them create wealth, and that wealth can transition to causes that may be important to them. It can transition to future generations of their family. And one of the things that we say as a mantra is, we can't prove that the grandchild of that client who we helped put together a plan to finance their college will someday go on to cure cancer, but you can't prove that they won't.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of good that could be done intergenerationally into the future by creation of wealth.
Yeah. Let's talk about, you mentioned charity and giving to others and building this wealth so that you're blessed with the ability to help others. Now, when you read scripture, it's really not about having accumulated wealth. It's about giving to others regardless of what you have. But when you get to a point where you can afford to change a charity or help a charity, that's got to be incredibly gratifying to you. And then I'm sure you have seen organizations really help others in the community. Talk a little bit about
Absolutely. I mean, a lot has been said about this and a lot of studies around it. And in the same way, entrepreneurs, people that are really successful, people who have like a lot of money, invariably, I mean, I'm around a lot of these people, right? That's my business.
Yeah.
And invariably, they have a gene, right? There's something about people who earn a lot of money where they have this same philosophy, where they just are so motivated to give back. I don't know what it is, but I mean, all of our clients, I really can't say there's one client who's like really wealthy who isn't super motivated to give back to charity. And so, and I get to be kind of a little bit of an air traffic controller for that.
Sure.
Right? I mean, we have 250 client families, and they all have some list of charities that are important to them.
Wow.
And they all are giving money in various ways. And so I'm like tapped in with this whole broad network of causes and charities and causes that I wouldn't even have known about,
right,
had it not been our client made a big gift or something like that. And
yeah,
it's really cool. It's very neat to see, especially the ones where you can give to the American Red Cross, and that's amazing, right? But in cases where a client has some pet cause that is something that where there's real impact, right? That money really made a difference for that particular charity or group of people. Those are really pretty cool.
And as you're talking, it gets to a point sometimes where people look at folks with accumulated wealth, and you said it earlier, they get a bad rap, they're greedy, they're this or that. Rather than having the government tell us what we can do with our money, why don't we allow ourselves, or the government allow ourselves, to do what the heck we want to do with our money, right? Because the folks that you're dealing with, those 250 families, are making such an enormous impact on the communities that they live and work in, that whatever the government is doing to prevent that from happening, they ought to stop doing.
I mean, we could have a long, political debate about, that particular topic. But I mean, I happen to be a capitalist, right? And I think,
Sure,
a lot of our clients look at the world the same way, and that is that, resource allocation for impact, I believe, is always better done, through the private sector and through, people like my clients making decisions about where resources should go than the government allocating resources. I just fundamentally believe that, and I would say that when I see the impact that is made by charitable giving, it proves it out for me, at least, that that gift made a difference.
Yeah.
Whereas how much money our government burns on various programs that don't make a difference.
Right.
So at heart, I'm a capitalist.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're in the same boat. All right, so you have 250 families in your portfolio, let's call it, and through that, and meeting those folks, whether it's playing golf or going to a local club or whatever that you belong to, talk about the the type of people that you attract or that are attracted to Concentus? Because I think that shows me that people with a like mind, right, want to be together. You want to be with one another so that you can help other folks. Yeah. Talk about some of these people.
I'm a huge believer in the power of personal values, and I feel like everything we do is driven, our relationships, our profession, everything we do is driven by our personal values and what we find to be important.
Yeah.
And I also think you attract people who have congruence of values. You just, when you meet someone at a cocktail party, I can tell within a couple minute conversation if they have similar values to what I have. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
So we've actually, because of that, I find great importance in that. So because of that, we've spent a lot of time in our firm articulating our five. We have 5 core values that hang on the wall, and there's a short description of what each one is. And far and away, the most important one to me personally is family. I mean, that's our number one value. We're in a family business. My dad and my brother are both in business with me.
Yep. And
really, I think if you asked any one of those 250 client families, what's the vibe that you get from Concentus? They would say it's a family. It's a family. Our investment performance is good. Our planning capabilities are good. Our technical capacity is really good. But what's the thing that stands out about us? We feel like we're part of the family at Concentus.
Yeah.
And that is something we've really worked hard to build and to grow. But those are the kind of people. Every single client of ours, you would say, they all value family. And that's just who we attract.
Yeah. And there's nothing better than working with your dad and your brother and other family members in your business where you actually get along and you're feeding off each other's skill set. And oftentimes, listen, I have the same or similar story about when we first tried to merge my business with my dad's business and my brother's business 30 years ago, and it didn't work out. But it made us stronger. It made us a stronger unit, and I would do anything for those two guys. Yeah. It's got to feel the same way.
One of the things I talk about this a lot when it comes to like management and how we manage our staff, and particularly conflict, and when people don't totally see eye to eye.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 5, right? So I grew up in a big family, and the thing about a family is you can't. You can divorce your spouse, right? You can defriend somebody on social media, but you can't unbrother your brother,
no,
right? You can't unsister your sister. And so I just was always taught that, like, if you guys have conflict, work it out, right? Like, you're gonna be brothers, right. So you better figure out a way to find common ground. And I think, look, I mean, there's always times when you hire staff where it just doesn't work out,
sure.
And you have to part ways or whatever. But for the most part, our staff, like, we hire people to be in it for the long run, to be together for the long run. And inevitably, there can be times when you don't see eye to eye. But if you think of it like you're a family, you will work hard to find that common ground. To move forward.
I love that.
It's very true.
I love that. Let's work it out. We're not going to although I shouldn't say this. There are times where you want to de-sister a sister.
There are.
Oh, God. Listen, folks, we have to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back with more from Erik Strid, the founding principal at Concentus Wealth Advisors, after this message from our sponsor, Kessler Foundation. Don't go away.
The Advocates is sponsored by the Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities.
Do you or someone you know have a brain or spinal cord injury, multiple sclerosis, or autism? We are looking for research participants with and without these conditions. By volunteering, you can help researchers develop new treatments, and you will be compensated for your time. Enroll in a Kessler Foundation research study today at kesslerfoundation.org/join.
What makes a Wawa Club? Is it the crispy bacon on the turkey BLT? The endless layers of flavor of the buffalo chicken salad? Or is it a secret handshake? Nah, at Wawa, there's a club for everyone. Find yours today.
We ride for those who died. The Police Unity Tour and RVN Television is bringing to you a show called On Your Honor, Straight Talk, and I'm your host, Patrick Monturi. I am a retired police chief from Florham Park, New Jersey, and I am also retired from the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. I am currently, for the last 27 years, the CEO and founder of the Police Unity Tour. And this show will bring to you straight talk about law enforcement, the actions and heroism that is provided to you, the citizens of the United States, as well as their actions in falling in the line of duty, as we could see some of the stories that surround that. Again, please watch us on RVN Television and be safe. Take care.
At Jersey Mike's, they slice your order fresh right in front of you. And let me tell you, watching that can send a rush of emotions through a person. Excitement, impatience, baby-like wonder, indecisive, anticipatory chewing, nervous pacing, happy claps, and finally, jealousy, because that's this guy's sub. I should order one. Good idea. Sliced right in front of you. It's a Jersey Mike's thing. A sub of
Welcome back to The Advocates. I'm your host right now today for in place of Alcini and Lisa Magnoki, who are doing other things. But I've got a good friend here I'm making, Erik Strid. Erik is the managing principal or founding principal at Concentus Wealth Advisors, and we're just talking about family and how important that is. And you know, when people are attracted to Concentus, they see that, right? They see the family atmosphere, and you know, it feels good.
Yeah.
Because everyone you know, you said it earlier. I mean, it's almost a commoditized business, right? I can go anywhere and buy stocks now, right? I can go to Robinhood, I can go to Schwab, I can go to Vanguard, go to Fidelity, I can do whatever the heck I want without an advisor. However, you guys have a strategy to put together so that you understand the goals that I and my family want to set. And if I feel comfortable with you and I look you in the eye and I'm saying, you know what, I trust this guy.
Yeah. You know, I think in any business that is where there's advice provided, or it's a personal service business. You know, we're all talking about the Chat GPT and the rise of artificial
AI,
intelligence, yeah. and rightly so. Like, a lot of people are worried about how that will displace economically a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I always say this, the one thing a robot or a computer cannot do in our business, tax advice, investments, you know, all the technical things we do definitely can be done by artificial intelligence. But the one thing that can't be duplicated is human relationship and empathy, particularly empathy.
Yeah.
And people need empathy, right? I mean, people. When you're going through a difficult time or a challenge or a struggle, what you really need is just empathy.
That's it. Now, all right, 30-year career so far, right? Start out at Merrill, you go to Wells, and now, you know, for the last...
Since 2014.
14, so almost 9 years. Yeah, almost 10 years. You've been running Concentus. I'm sure there are hundreds of stories that you could tell about people that have come to you, come to your dad maybe, and you help them transform their lives. No names, but tell us a couple stories.
I would say I'll put maybe a couple categories of because there are so many. But
yeah.
You know, one of the things that was really incredible. My dad, one of the ways he made his mark on our industry was he developed a thing called the College Builder program. I was the oldest of 5 kids. We all went to private high school, and we were sailing towards going to high-end private college. I had 3 siblings who went to Georgetown, one that went to Colgate, and I went to Amherst College.
Yeah.
And I'm 6 years older than my youngest sibling, and I'm the oldest. So there's a 6-year spread between
Wow.
5 kids. I mean, you're talking about a mountain that was almost impossible to climb.
Huge.
So out of crisis comes opportunity. So my dad dreamt up a thing he called the College Builder Program, which was back in the 80s, right? It was like way before our industry had not embraced financial planning at all. It was a slinging stocks.
Yep.
And he also put together a computer program where you could plug in your kids' names and ages, where you wanted them to go to school, and it would give you this whole report of when they were going to be in college, how many overlaps you'd have. And he actually had a database of colleges, so you could say, we want Johnny to go to Princeton and Sally to go to Georgetown, and it would tell you, it would inflate the current tuition costs of those schools and actually give you a analysis of what you were looking at.
Yeah.
And then he had a program of buying bonds that was called zero coupon bonds that would come due in each of the years you'd have those tuition. It was at the time, I mean, it sounds trite now, but at the time
it was brilliant.
Truly was revolutionary.
Yeah.
And he was doing this in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And it was enormously successful. And so fast forward to today, and there are countless times where clients come up to me and say, before I even gotten into the business, your dad put my kids through college, like literally put my kids through college.
It's incredible.
And that, when you think about really what it takes to put a kid through college and have that kid graduate without debt, I mean, that's an impactful thing.
It's enormous.
And I get that all the time from people that I didn't even really know were College Builder clients.
Along those lines, Erik, I think there are a lot of people out there, younger folks especially, but people of all ages, that are afraid of the two words wealth accumulation. They don't understand what it takes to build wealth. And if you were to give the audience advice on how to start, right? I'm out of college, I've got a little bit of debt or whatever. Talk about how you start to build, not generational wealth, but wealth accumulation, where they start to understand that taking a piece of their salaries and living below their means or beneath their means will pay off in the long run.
Yeah, and I was actually going to talk about how that's the kind of second large category of stories and examples that I can look back in my career that are really gratifying, where we actually, because we're kind of a family wealth advisory firm, over the years, we really have tailored a lot of our service to serving your kids, right? Like, so when your child graduates from college and has their first job, even though they may not have any money and be able to pay any fees to us, it's kind of part of the family relationship is we will become their advisor. And there's a whole bunch of other stories. I mean, we have now third generation clients where the second generation, we kind of shepherd them and help them to become financially successful. And so I can look back on real stories like that, and that's gratifying. But I mean, the biggest thing is simply just helping people to understand exactly what you said, which is, we talk about, there are a lot of different examples of this, but give, save, spend. Whether, we used to give, we still do this, we send to client kids for their birthday, 3 jars, the give jar, the save jar, and the spend jar. When they're, teenagers or little kids or stuff.
That makes
so
sense.
that if they have a summer job, they go out and put a little bit into each of the 3 jars.
Yep.
But particularly with respect to building your own wealth, the save jar is important, and that is that, anytime money comes into your life, some of it goes into each, there's going to have to be some that you spend, there should be some that you give, and then there's some that you save. And really, the 401k plan or the retirement plan at work is step one. I mean, for anybody, that is like such an amazing tool, largely because it's automated, and so you don't miss it.
Right.
When you get your paycheck and you had a deduction for a retirement plan, you didn't even know that money was even there.
Exactly.
So you didn't have the temptation to, should I spend it, should I save it? It was done for you.
Right.
And it has tax advantages, and typically there's a match and stuff like that. So it's the fastest way and the best way. But clearly, and we educate young kids about this, the earlier a person starts in life, time is an enormous benefit to growing wealth.
Yeah.
In fact, I think time is the number one aspect. People think investment return is the biggest factor in growing wealth. It's not. It's time earning investment return that's the biggest factor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you know, aside from the 401k, which is great if you're working for an organization that has a 401k or a 403b or something like that, where it's kind of automatically taking out of your income. But for those who are out there who are not working for an organization that have a defined benefits plan or a 401k, that 3-jar recommendation is so damn important for people.
Yeah.
Live beneath your means.
I think behaviorally, yes, and behaviorally, the most foolproof way to do that is to find a way to automate your savings.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, if you touch the dollar, right, the likelihood that you're going to take 10 cents of it and put it in that that save jar just went down by some percentage.
Yeah.
If it comes to you net of the savings that already had been taken out before you had a chance to even touch it, you just have that much more of a chance of being successful. So there are, you know, every financial institution has a way that you can automatically deposit or automatically divert money into your kind of savings fund. That is it's a key habit.
And that college builder that your dad built 35 or 40 years ago now, right, is still working for people because, you know, you're right, it changes the lives of these families. I'm sure that there are people that the first generation, maybe they didn't even go to college, right? And now they have a chance to send their child and then grandchild to college.
We have countless stories of that where the parent didn't go to college and that's all they wanted for their family was to you know, and today they may look back and they're 70, 80 years old and they're wealthy, right? Like today it would be like, well, funding a college education, I mean, that, you know, would be easy. I have all this money, but they didn't 30 years ago or 20 years ago. And at that time, you know, the importance of being able to do that to just see their child go to college, but much less to pay the whole freight and not have that child have to have debt when they walked out of college, you know, really impactful.
It's impactful. Well, if we did nothing else today, it was to show this audience that, you know, coming to Concentus and working with you and your team is as impactful, as a life-changing experience as anything you could possibly ask for. People helping people, that's what you're all about.
Money is in today's society, it's directly related to freedom.
Yeah.
And freedom is actually a value that we all have very strongly. So that's the way we look at it, is we want to help people to build the wealth plan that will support their freedom to live their values.
Love it, love it. Thanks, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, look into that camera right there to our left. And tell everyone how to get in touch with you.
It's pretty easy. You can find us at concentus.com, and that's CONCENTUS.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, folks, that is a wrap for the advocates. Again, Concentus Wealth Advisors. Check them out on the web and check out Erik Strid. He is on LinkedIn. Are you on Instagram too or not?
Actually, I am.
You are? Okay.
It's called Empowered Values is our Instagram.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, folks, and thanks again to the Kessler Foundation for their generous support of the advocates, helping people with disabilities. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.